cocowire.net if you want to know what's happening here with us in Palm Beach County. As we do on this show and on cocowire.net, we will continue to tell the stories of our communities, of the African diaspora, which, as you are aware, I'm sure, are African Americans, Caribbean, Blacks, and Native Africans, so that we all get a better sense of how rich and interesting our communities are. And National Black History Month continues this month, and there have been some really interesting events locally. Next week, we're scheduled to have a board member on the show from the Palm Beach County Historical Society to talk about how people of color are being included in the county's storyline. So be sure to tune in. But today, we're going to be talking history as well. That is in terms of making history. Have y'all heard about the National Day of Empathy? Yes, it's on March the 2nd. This is history too. It was created 5 years ago by Van Jones, the CNN TV show host, who wanted to make it effective across the country, so he sought to touch community leaders in each state to help get the word out. And in Florida, that community leader is Prophet Bryce Graham, and he's our guest today. But the Day of Empathy is about criminal justice reform. Primarily, it seeks to do three things: to broaden the community's awareness of mass incarceration issues, to inform community leaders, legislators, and the public about those issues, and to cut the prison population by 50%, hence the created tagline, hashtag Cut 50. And the way they're doing it is through panel discussions in each state, including here in Florida, to push the movement forward. And to learn more about this movement, visit the nonprofit organization behind it called the Dream Corps, which was also founded by Van Jones, at www.thedreamcorps.org. And that's the Dream Corps, CORPS.org. But what is the movement about? It's about change. And today's guest, the organizer for the state of Florida, knows a lot about change. He's been pushing for it for years, even though, ladies and gentlemen, he's just 23 years old. Okay. Prophet Bryce Graham is here on the show again for a third time, and that's because he's involved in change. He's the South Florida representative for the Reverend Al Sharpton's National Action Network, and in 2018, when he was just 20 years old, he received the Trailblazer Award from the Trayvon Martin Foundation for his contributions to social justice and minority empowerment. Now, with the Day of Empathy, the young prophet is helping to put together a panel of aware and concerned voices in Florida for the discussion, which will happen here in the Sunshine State from 1 to 2 p.m. on that big day, March the 2nd. Now, did we say this, ladies and gentlemen? He's only 23 years old. Prophet Bryce Graham, yay, young man focused on change.
Thank you, Miss
Welcome
Doja.
to Coco Chats.
Thank you, Miss
Thank
Doja.
you for coming.
It's my pleasure to be back again.
Yeah, I appreciate what you do in your young life, young man. I really do.
Well, I'm trying to make a change, and be a part of it.
So tell us, how in the world, how did you get connected to a national movement, this potentially has, national implications?
Well, the millennials and those of you who
The
have,
millennials.
and those of you who have iPhones might know about the app called Clubhouse. So I was on
which
this,
I have never heard of.
Yeah, it's strictly audio. I was on this particular app, and I, lending my services and things of that nature, and so happened to be in a room with the national organizer of the National Day of Empathy.
Really?
Mr. Lewis L. Reed. And so upon Mr. Lewis Reed, I introduced myself and told him what I do and who I am connected with in the movement and things of that nature, unbeknownst that he was already sending me a message by the time I asked him about his initiative to push criminal justice reform.
Change, yeah.
He had already reached out to me.
Wow.
And so I stumbled upon this national movement which will be happening in all 50 states and across the country, and it's this an honor.
And so, I mean, were you interested right away? I mean, when he reached out to you, were you interested right away?
Anything that involves change, I'm interested in.
Really?
Because you ultimately have to be the change that you are willing to see and create in your community. And so whenever there's a call to action, I want to be a part in some way or another.
Yeah. And, you know, that's interesting you say that, because I can remember in the conversations we've had previously, you've always said that you want to see, you know, systemic change happen, you know, not just fists in the air, you know, not just frowns on faces.
Absolutely.
You know, not just yelling. But, you know, but tell me, you know, in terms of this effort, and we'll talk about, you know, the specifics in a little bit, but tell me, what was it about this national movement that really interested you in terms of, you know, what you like to do?
Well, as I look back over, you know, the course of the months,
not the years
not
of your
the
young
years,
life, yes,
but the months that we had to endure George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and so forth and so on, the Ahmaud Arbery's and things of that nature. I then had to look a little deeper and see what is the true effect. And the true effect is that people of color are being incarcerated far more than anything else, and minorities and things of that nature. And so I took a retrospect look at what is happening, and it is sad that we can find $1 billion for the lottery, but we can't find $1 billion to get young kids and people out of jail and put them in a efficient place where they can grow in society and be a part of society again. And so that's the reason why I got into this National Day of Empathy.
Sure.
Because it is, a mind is a terrible thing to waste, even when it comes to kids and young adults that are behind bars, when FAMU and Edward Waters is indeed an option.
And, you know, it's interesting you bring up, you know, race and color on this subject, but yet the panel that you're putting together, and that all of you know, what y'all are doing, it's you know, non-racial and it's bipartisan. And I mean, y'all are getting everybody involved.
Absolutely.
Even though you're saying that it's mostly people of color who are, you know, in the pokey. So, but why? So why do y'all have all these others involved as well?
It is important to bring everybody to the table, because everybody is able to create change. And so it's not about if you're, it's not about if you're, and that's the point that we need to drive home too. It's not about if you're black or white or whatever, Latino,
or Republican or Democrat, or
we all have a responsibility to create change. And so we're working and reaching out with people who can help create that change. And the part about it is, it's about their hearts. So if it's in their hearts to have change, they'll be willing to be on board.
So from where you sit, what are you seeking to accomplish with this day?
What I'm seeking to accomplish is solely action. We've had enough talking. We've had enough words. We've had enough speeches. We've had enough of protest and marches.
Fists in the air, frowns on faces.
Now it's time to come up and have a candid conversation as to what it is, what is the problem. Let's come up with solutions, and then let's implement action.
So who are you interested in then, in terms of the panel? Like, I know you're, you know, wanting to get some, you know, really aware voices, but give us a sense of, like, you know, even if you don't say the names, but just like, you know, the positions or the, you know.
Well, we're reaching out to some everybody. I can't call names at this moment because we're still in work in progress with the panel. But state senators, state representatives, elected officials, countywide and local. We're calling on
even
them.
Municipal elected officials?
Even municipal elected officials, because they play a major part in everyday life. So it's vitally important that we get them involved as well. And people who are ex-felons who can tell their story and the Dream Corps doesn't want to use ex-felons as a term. They want to use returning citizens as the term because people are returning and they should be bestowed grace after they have done their time.
And in fact, I was surprised when you said ex-felon because I have never heard you use that term. You usually say returning citizens as well.
Absolutely.
And so you're trying to get some ex-felons, some returning citizens on there too. What's important about hearing what they have to say?
Well, it drives home, number one, how they've been impacted, and then number two, how they've come back into society and have been productive. Not all are able to do that,
right?
But there are a majority who are able to pick themselves back up and get back into the world and create change.
Yeah, and and this effort is also seeking to change how people are referred to after, like you're saying,
Right.
Yeah, and that's part of this effort too.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And hashtag empathy. So there goes the empathy portion. And it is right that people have a grace, to come back into society, to be able to work, to be able to own a gun, to have the right to vote, and so forth and so on. The list goes on as it relates to a returning citizen.
So, as somebody, who has been so involved in, pushing back, against the system and stuff, I'm just kind of curious, where did that come from? I mean, did you have, any, run-ins with the police? Have you been mistreated by the police? Or I'm just curious. I mean, where's this coming from?
Yeah. I've had a few run-ins with the police.
Really?
Absolutely.
But you seem so nice.
Well, when we are the target, it tends to happen. But that push comes from really seeing others being mistreated and mishandled by the system. And so, although I haven't experienced what they have experienced,
being shot by the police,
absolutely,
or hit in the punch by the police, or whatever.
It is my duty to see to it that the system changes.
But why is that your duty?
It is my duty because you have to stand up for those who can't speak up for themselves or don't know how to do it. And so they have to have somebody who will intercede on their behalf and be that voice and that champion. And I believe that I've been graced to do just that.
And what kind of response do you get from people with the work that you do? Are they always supportive of you?
Always.
Or do you get
always?
Really?
I've always had great support. Always. I've had this a group of Caucasians who were this ecstatic about the event, and they registered, and they're supporting.
All right. Well, give us a sense of how you are looking at this event and what you want to accomplish. You, Prophet Bryce, not Van Jones at CNN, but you in Florida, Prophet Bryce. What do you want to accomplish with this event?
Well, with this event, I think we can, like I said, create a conversation. Number one, a candid conversation to see what the problem is, where we can implement solutions, and then action going forward. Here in Florida, the Amendment 4 is a big deal with returning citizens having the right to vote.
There was some pushback on that.
There was some pushback on it, and so that's one thing that we can talk about. There's other things, mass incarceration among black people in the state of Florida. Then we can talk about this bias bill that they put against protesters, calling protesters mobs.
Really?
Absolutely.
That's at the national level.
That's at the state level.
Really?
It was proposed by the governor.
In the state of Florida?
In the state of Florida.
I had not heard about that.
And it's HB1 SB 4. 8-4.
Oh,
That's
in
the
this
deal.
current, okay, in this current legislative session.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
And so that puts the black community in a bad place, because you're taking away or trying to say that we can't have the right to protest or the right to have a freedom of speech. And so there's major issues that are on the table. And so my main push for this event is all about change and all about action. If there's no action, I don't want it.
So, in terms of that bill that you just mentioned, what's the problem you see with it?
The problem that I see with it is that it is a threat to the black community ultimately.
In what sense?
In what sense is because you can place a felony on me if I'm protesting. And then after that, what happens?
Then you're a felon.
Right. That's my point.
Yeah.
And so we need to push back on it, and it might pass. And in this session, I heard that the language has been doctored, but it is what it is. It's unconstitutional.
Yeah, it really, and I'm just amazed at that, because that sounds like it's pushing back against the First Amendment,
Absolutely.
free speech.
Absolutely. But it's all the scare tactic. It's all a part of their system, and that's what they want.
But what I don't understand is, why do the protests, like what you were involved, when all y'all were doing, had your fists in the air, but then up, on January the 6th.
The 6th, yeah.
Guns, but no problem.
Well, the thing is, we live in two Americas.
What do you mean?
We live in two Americas, one that is privileged and one that has no justice. And so when it comes to us protesting and marching, it's, they're destroying property, and this, that, and the third. But when it comes to an insurrection at the Capitol, it's white privilege.
Mm. How did you get the title Prophet?
Wow.
Just
we go
curious.
into that. The title Prophet was bestowed upon me after running revival in Miami. They anointed me as the prophet, and I've been that ever since.
And how old were you? How old were you when that happened?
She about 8 or 9 at that time.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, when I looked at your bio and stuff, you received your first ministerial robe when you were 2 years old.
Absolutely.
Right. So you were born with this in you, this this notion to to change, to move forward,
Absolutely.
to be different.
Absolutely.
And then it's when you were at age 9 is when that prophet was bestowed upon you by the Breakthrough International Christian Center.
Yes.
In Miami.
Absolutely.
Wow, and you've been called a 10-year-old preaching machine, a wonder boy preacher.
Absolutely.
But in this case, you are a community organizer.
And activist, yeah.
All right, and so who are you? So, All right, so anything coming up?
Well,
before March the 2nd?
Nothing else coming up besides March the 2nd. March the 2nd, 2021, building empathy with elected officials, governors, state legislators, things of that nature. Really bringing awareness to what's going on so that we can bring action and change and action. And since we're on the air, I want to put it out there, people are struggling with the snowstorms in Houston and Texas. And part of my effort that I'm going to try to work on is to get an 18-wheeler with food and items out to Texas to help those in need.
Prophet Bryce in Florida is doing that
from
to
Florida,
help in
from
Texas?
Florida to Texas.
Somebody actually reached out to you for that?
No, I'm going to reach out to them. The Bible says you have not because you ask not. And so I'm going to ask, and I'm going to get it done.
So what about that made you want to act? I mean, because that's
Well, I'm not experiencing that here in Florida.
Right.
And so my heart breaks for people who are experiencing their pipes bursting, electricity is out because, private companies choose to cut their electricity out during a snowstorm to protect the grids and things of that nature. And without, being able to get food, gasoline after this snowstorm has passed. And so it was displaced upon me that, I've got to do something.
Wow.
I did it for the people in the Bahamas.
What do you mean?
I sent items over to the Bahamas. I helped people who got here from the Bahamas that was affected by Hurricane Dorian. So I'm not a stranger to helping people. It's this in me.
So what do you see as your life's purpose then? I mean, I guess not just to preach, clearly.
No, not just to preach, to be a helper.
To be a helper.
That's why I'm here.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is.
Does it matter who the people are that need the help?
It doesn't matter. We're all family. At the end of the day, you may not like me, you may disagree with me, but somewhere along the line you're going to need help, and that's my duty, is to help.
And when it comes to criminal justice reform, you also see that as something that you need to help with.
Absolutely.
Because
I believe it will in turn make our community better, a better place.
All right. Okay. Now, we're in the last few minutes here, Prophet Bryce, but let people know how they can, if they want to participate in the big event, or if they want to just listen in, how can they do that?
Absolutely. Like I said, this event is taking place in all 50 states. I'm hosting the one here in Florida. You can go directly to thedreamcorps.org or thedayofempathy.org and see all of the listings of the states that are participating. Go there, register for the event in Florida. I'll get a message stating that you are invited. Have registered rather, and then other places that you can go is my Facebook, my Instagram.
Of course, millennial.
My Instagram, my Twitter is inundated, nothing but hashtag Day of Empathy.
Okay. And this day is obviously going to be virtual, right?
It's going to be virtual.
Everything is going to be virtual.
Absolutely.
And so if people want to just watch it, not necessarily participate, but watch, they can also get that information
on that website. It's going to be everywhere.
Thedreamcorps.org.
Right, or thedayofempathy.org.
Okay.
Yep.
Or they can reach out to Prophet Bryce.
Absolutely.
And your social media page is on.
I'm on all social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
And does it all say Prophet Bryce or
Bryce Graham, Prophet Bryce for my Instagram _ and then for my Twitter it's at Prophet Bryce. So it's easy.
Okay. This is really interesting. I really like what you're doing, and I am hopeful that this that this happens, because I cannot imagine, trying to have something, nationally, but virtually. And so after y'all have y'all's thing from 1 to 2, is
there's a national event that's going to take place at 6:00.
On the same day, on March the 2nd.
On the same day. You want to tune into that. It's going to be great. They already have celebrity guests lined up for that event. The young girl who did the poem at the inauguration, she'll be doing a poem on that particular virtual session. So you want to tune in. So tune in at 1 o'clock to 2 for the panel.
That's for the Florida panel.
Right, for the Florida panel. And then at 6 o'clock, there'll be a national thing going on. So you want to tune into that as well.
Okay, and then that will be available on these same
sites,
channel or whatever.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, same thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, are you going to be involved in that 5 o'clock?
That 6 o'clock? No,
the 6.
no.
I'm sorry.
But
6 o'clock.
I'll be looking in and listening in as well.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Okay. All right. I like this. I really do. Okay. And if and if they want to participate on the panel, they can send you
They can send me an email.
Okay.
It's prophetbryce@gmail.com.
Okay, perfect. Okay. All right. Are you interested? Are you interested in anybody else participating besides, returning citizens, government officials?
No, I just need the
community
I just
leaders.
need the community to register and be a participant. If you have questions and concerns, we'll have a Q&A session that'll be on that live. So the panel will be able to answer some of your questions and concerns.
All right, perfect. All right, I think that will do the show for the day.
I think it will too. I thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and I appreciate your coming on. I just love the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
It's just fabulous. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for tuning in as well and listening in to Prophet Bryce Graham talk about the upcoming Day of Empathy on March the 2nd, which is a national pushback seeking criminal justice reform. If you need to get any information, send him an email at prophetbryce@gmail.com. All right, and that would be the end of Coco Chats for the day with your host, me, Marian Dozier, and I appreciate you for tuning in.